Aussies are skipping meals to get by. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your hashtag not sponsored 7-Eleven coffee and let's have a look at this article about skipping meals to get by due to tough financial times. Now, the fact that this is my second coffee, the one I got on the way to Bunnings, I finished in Bunnings, and this is the one going back from Bunnings. But it's Saturday, guys, you know, I've got to buy some cutting blades. You got to do it. Anyway, so young Aussies skipping meals due to financial hardship. Now, I've said we're going to start seeing more and more sob story articles coming out. I'd expect most of them from the ABC. Now, skipping meals, it's not that big a deal, to be brutally honest. We've got a whole layer of fat on our bodies, even when you're skinny, that you can use as an emergency food supply. That's what used to happen in the past. These 3 meals a day, sometimes even 5 or 6 when you count snacks, that's a first world issue. It's a first world problem. I'd argue that the terrible diets that people are eating in the Western world, the standard American diet, the SAD diet, very similar to the Australian one, is so full of sugar and processed crap that it just leads to all these health issues. And this is where I wouldn't say skipping meals is that bad an issue, because you could go into cellular autophagy, you can fast. It's not a bad thing. People have been doing it forever. What my real concern is with tough financial times is people start making worse food decisions. They can't afford to buy real animal-based food or fat or good quality meat. And they start substituting for wheats, grains, seed oils, and garbage. That's what I'm worried about, because you can save a lot of money. Trust me, we're trying to live carnivore, and I put a photograph up on my community channel just how much we spend on groceries. It's sure it's once a month, but we buy like a lot of eggs, a lot of cheese, a lot of meat. Rachel got our food budget down a couple of years ago, really, really cheap, but it was all processed grains and flour and filler, all this filler crap that has very little nutritional value. That's just there to bulk out your food. When you go off, when you start going down low carb, and you start having, bolognese without the spaghetti, just the meat, you start to realize how much filler you have in all your food. It's nuts. But the problem is it's cheap. So people gravitate towards the cheap stuff to save money because they have to, and that can lead to health issues later in life. Diabetes for one. So let's have a look here. I'd rather you skip a meal than eat crap. That's what I'm saying. Let me know what you think in the comments. So young Aussies are skipping meals due to financial hardships. Young Aussies are going without food and skipping meals because they don't have enough money, a new report has found. Monash University's 2022 Australian Youth Barometer revealed most young people, 90%, have experienced financial difficulties at some point during the past 12 months. Now, could that be that unusual? When you're young and dumb, you make stupid mistakes. Maybe you piss away a whole lot of money going out, drinking and partying. I know I did stupid things when I'm young. And you need to go through some mistakes to, well, be a bit more sensible. That's part of growing up. The report, which surveyed more than 500 young Aussies aged 18 to 24, found 51% didn't eat for a whole day and 60% had to skip meals at least once in the past 12 months because of lack of money. So, okay, you didn't eat for a whole day, whoop-de-doo. I mean, doesn't that happen sometimes? What if you're in the zone? You're working on a project and then you forget to eat. You just forget to eat. You just keep working, powering through. What if you're fasting for health reasons? Would that count for this? Lack of money. I mean, you had to skip a meal once, at least once. Just look at this. This article, skipping a meal once in 12 months. 12 months, an entire year. This just shows you how good we've got it in Australia, doesn't it? It really shows you how good we've got it in Australia. This is fantastic news. 1 meal in 12 months, that's nothing. You're not going to starve for that. You're probably not even going to lose weight from that. Oh, boy. There have been quite a few times when I've been down to my last $2 or $3 to last me a week. And most of the time that means I live off a loaf of bread and some 2-minute noodles, a 24-year-old ACT man shared in the report. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the fact that your money is not matching your requirements, what you're earning. So you got to up your earnings or reduce your costs. Rachel, when she was studying in South Australia, when she did her first degree, she was living out of home in a share apartment, and she was living like that. She would decide whether to eat or have enough money for drinks with friends going out. Now, I wouldn't say that's very mature or responsible, but it's just what you have to do at certain parts of your life. I think she worked at Donut King, and she would get the leftover donuts there, but apparently you get sick of that pretty quick. So, yes, I would say there have been times when I've not been able to eat the food I wanted, if any food at all. Other young people have shared similar experiences. Yeah, that just means you got to get your shit sorted so you don't get in this mess. So you don't run out of food money. What other luxuries are you spending money on that's a necessity? Now, am I being too harsh here and assuming they're pissing away money? You let me know. As I'm having my luxury $3 coffee here now. You can tell we're inflation here. I bought a large one. I'll have a week of being able to eat whatever I want to eat. And then, next week I'll have no money. So basically I just live off bread, the 22-year-old Victorian woman said. It just means you're shit at budgeting. You're shit at budgeting. You need to make the money stretch over the time period. And maybe you don't eat whatever you want. You eat what you can afford. Oh, boy. I mean, go out and buy some butter, a whole lot of butter, and buy some potatoes and just drown them in butter so you get your fat there. I mean, oh boy, not being able to eat whatever you want at all the time is a disaster in Australia, okay? That just shows you how good we have it here. We've got it really, really good in Australia. For all the bitching and moaning, for all our frustrations at how much of a pain in the ass, we got to pay so much for housing, so much for taxes. They take your super and lock it away until you're so old you can't even enjoy it. All these things we bitch about. It's still pretty damn good in this country. We got to admit that. If this is the big issue, I can't eat whatever I want for 2 weeks. Boo-hoo. Concerns about the rising cost of living, housing affordability, and a lack of stable and sufficient employment were front and center for many young people, the report found. Yeah, I mean, that's not going to change. Sadly, you're not going to magically vote away all these problems. You're not going to vote in the bloody, Labour Green Alliance, who starts price capping things, limiting investment, creating a sovereign risk for foreign companies to create job opportunities in Australia. That's not going to help any of this. But I guess people have to learn. They've got to learn the hard way. I hope they learn. So, income support is not enough. Income support payments were the primary source of income for several interviewees, the report found, who said there wasn't enough to cover their living expenses. My primary income is a disability pension, and it's not a huge amount, a 22-year-old non-binary person from WA shared. I've crunched the numbers, and it's about half of what you would make if you worked full-time on a minimum wage. Yes, because it's not the equivalent of a full-time minimum wage. I mean, should it be? There's the question. If someone is on disability, should it be the equivalent of a full-time minimum wage? Now, I have a friend who is disabled. He's legally blind. Look him up, Beer Nuts Productions. He's got a YouTube channel and he creates content, skits, movies, podcasts, books. And one video on his channel is where he went to give a speech down in Canberra for a pat on the back event for a bunch of these agencies that provide employment for people with disability, and he just tore strips and all. I don't think he was asked back to ever speak again because these job center places, they can't give him a job. No one will hire him. And they said pretty much start your own thing. And that's what he did. Let's check him out. You know what? We'll look it up. Beer Nuts Productions. Because that's really what you got to do. Here we go. Let's see what he has. I mean, it's British humor. Oh, he's done up the website. It's nice. There you go. He's doing his own thing. He's stepping up. I think he made a film years ago just about some of the challenges he had in his life. And then he kind of turned a corner from it. I like this one, the advertisement about the tent. But, that's what you got to do. He's not sitting on the disability pension. He's making comedy skits and doing stuff. That's the type of people I've been friends with from high school. That's when I think a disabled person, I think, okay, there's Blind Dave, making a go at it. I guess you can't say that's offensive. I tell you, one time we were out drinking in Brisbane. It's myself, Dave, and another one of his mates. They were both legally blind. And I was pretty drunk too. And we're wandering down the street, and all of a sudden we're crossing this road, and these cars start beeping and blaring, and oh shit, we're walking into traffic. And I'd realised I'd let the blind guys lead the way. So I'm a very good support person and carer there. We were all fine. So drink responsibly, kids, particularly when you're at uni. It gets harder every 5 years older you get, the hangovers. Anyway, back to this. The Australian, that'd be my solution, was find a way you can generate your own income. It's a different world now. There's a lot of ways that you can work, generate content, do something from home. And a lot of computer games as well have accessibility options for disabled people to take advantage of them and to use them. The Council of Social Services has called on the federal government to lift income support payments, including youth allowance, to at least $73 a day to help Aussies cover the basics. $73 a day for being on youth allowance. ACOS's own survey of people receiving income support, including youth allowance, Austudy and AbStudy early this year, found that people were already being completely crushed by the cost of living before soaring costs of food, fuel, energy, rents this year. Young people and people who study have the same living costs as everyone else. They still need to find somewhere to live, eat, pay for transport, but they receive much less than other people receiving income support. So, let's have a talk about this one, guys. I remember when I was at university, I studied at the QUT, and the course that I went through was a little different to other architecture courses. It was a flexible full-time course, and what you did is you had 3 subjects, 2 semesters a year, and the subjects were weighted at 12 credit points each. So with 3 subjects, you had the equivalent of a full-time load, but then rather than doing a 4th subject, we would work. We would be required to work in industry, to work as an architectural draftsperson. After a few years, you'd be running jobs. You'd get real-world experience. You'd be 4 days in office, 1 day at university, and that day at uni was from 8 a.m. to like 8 p.m. It was a full day where they crammed all the subjects into that day. Now, the advantage of that was you could earn a pretty decent income, a full-time income as a student while you were studying. So we'd have people who would come later in careers, who'd done their drafting course, gone to university, and this was one of the few options. There was only 2 universities that had something like this. It was QUT and UTS, and sadly it's gone now, they've ditched it, where you could go and get your professional qualifications and still work from home, still have a family, be at home, do all these things, live a life because you earn enough money. That I thought was quite innovative because it created opportunities for a whole bunch of people that wouldn't have been there before. Now, rather than looking at more government support, more handouts, we should be looking at flexible ways of learning and education to allow people to be more adaptable. Rather than doing some shit job working in a Macca's or somewhere that wasn't related to our profession, all of us at QUT, in architecture, we'd be working in architectural practices. So you get experience while you were studying. Sure, it created a few issues. It was bloody stress. It was a lot of work. You have all this stress at work and then all this stress at university. And you only ever dated architecture girls. The number of people that hooked up in our course is just nuts. That's where I met Rachel. So rather than playing up the fact people have to skip meals, whoop-de-doo. You're talking to someone who's fasted, and I'll try and do another one at the beginning of the year. I think 7 days is the longest I've gone. It's tough because your sense of smell goes super, super sensitive, and whenever anyone's cooking, you can sense it up the street. 3 houses away, Rachel will be cooking, I'd be smelling it. But that's not the end of the world. The fact that that's the big thing that people are reporting in the news as a big dilemma shows you how fantastic Australia is. Right there. What we bitch about shows you how good a country we have it. I understand that these payments for people on disability support pensions and on Centrelink and youth allowance are never going to be enough, no matter how much you pay them. There'll always be some bitching and moaning that it should be more. I think we need to look at opportunities and encourage people to take what skills and capabilities they have and leverage that. And now's the time that you can do it like never before. What do you think, guys? And have you skipped meals? Or do you just intermittent fast and just skip it for fun? Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know your comments and thoughts below. If you like the channel, check out my other ones, Heise BIM and HeiseSays International, for other topics I discuss. And if you want to support us, you can financially on YouTube or Patreon. Use our referral links, buy our pocket squares, or call us if you need an architect. Take care, everyone. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next episode of HeiseSays. Bye for now. It's a good coffee, even only for a few dollars.